Hey, what is going on, everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario, and this is, it's about that time of year again. In case you do not know, this is something I like to do near the end of the year, every year here on the channel, where I do the Beat a Game a Month challenge, something along those lines. And I try and challenge myself to finish at least one game every month. Some people might think this sounds incredibly easy, and I mean, yeah, it's just playing games and such, but there's times, man, you just keep either hopping between games or you're not really playing anything, so sometimes it's actually challenging getting a game in to finish once that month. But what I try and do is it's just something I've done since 2016, and I've been keeping up the tradition. So we are now, what, like 5 years in? 5 years in. Dang, 5 years of doing this. It's been fun so far. But the way it started was, this was years ago. I was listening to an episode of the Weapon Wheel podcast, and they were talking about all the games they had finished that year and counting and having kind of a competition. I said, you know what, I'm just going to have a competition with myself to see if I can beat at least one game a month, because I was working and such, and I realized, like, wow, I have less time for games here, and sometimes, again, it is kind of hard getting one of those in just to finish something, whether it be, you know, life stuff, or maybe you're just playing like a 200-hour RPG, whatever it be. But either way, let's go ahead and get into this here, because there's been a lot of stuff that I've played, at least a lot in my opinion. So just some notes here. There's not going to be all too much editing in regards to this, and I am going to be consistently looking over at my screen because I have a list of what I beat every single month in the order that I played. So first of all here, the first game that I ended up finishing, and I think it was on like January 1st, because I was playing it near the end of 2019 and I decided to fire this up, was Final Fantasy VII. So I ended up playing this on the Switch. I ended up finishing it. I thought this was a great port, absolutely loved it. To be honest, I was shocked that I still got emotional when, spoiler alert here, but you know what, the game is so old at this point. All right, it came out in 1997. When Aerith died, man, I was in an airplane at the time. Remember when you could actually ride those safely? But I was in an airplane at the time, and I was just like that choked me up, man. But Final Fantasy VII, finishing that, I would say fantastic start to the year here. And of course, I was priming myself for Final Fantasy VII Remake. The next game I end up finishing, which is a game I finished before, but I wanted to revisit it, and I feel like I'm going to be revisiting it again here, so you're probably going to see this again in 2021. But I decided to go and replay NG, or Spirit Hunter NG. This is a kind of sort of sequel to Deathmark, and recently in the last few years, I've been playing visual novels. And Deathmark, maybe it's one of those things you just don't forget your first, but Deathmark was the first one I played. I absolutely loved it. I freaked out when I found out there was kind of a sequel, or at least a second one in the series. This is the Spirit Hunter series. The gameplay on here is better than Deathmark. The story I don't like as much, but the gameplay does make up for it, whatever gameplay there is there, and it is incredibly messed up. So it's a fantastic game. The next game I end up playing, I don't have a physical copy of, but this was Night in the Woods on Switch. This is one of my favorite games that I have played. I remember I found it from a recommendation through Metal Jesus Rocks on one of his videos, I believe he did with Kinsey, where he was just going over digital games that were on the Switch that you might have missed. And I guess it's just one of those, like, cutesy animal but relatable games where you play as a 19 or 20-year-old college student cat who ends up dropping out of college, comes back home, and just kind of deals with the trials and tribulations of things really changing over the last few years, plus dealing with that awkward conversation with your parents of, hey, I dropped out of college and I know you all kind of broke your backs and paid for me on here, and then I just kind of dropped out, but like, I don't want to really talk about this. It's a fantastic game, though. I decided to just kind of randomly fire it up again, and I loved it just the same. Plus, it's one of those games you have to play it several times to really get the full extent of it. So I'll probably play it again here soon as well, too. Now, the last game I end up finishing for January ended up being West of Loathing. This game was funny. This game was fantastic. This game was a lot shorter than I expected, unfortunately, but a great, funny RPG that I wanted to try out, and yeah, I'd recommend it. It was a great game. Another one of my favorite games here. This is coming in at February, something that I ended up kind of discovering on a whim, and I ended up, what year did this come out? It came out in 2019, but I decided to pick this up, and I have played through this game multiple times now. I love it. It's a cozy game. It's great. It is Coffee Talk. I, of course, got this on the Switch. I ended up importing this from Japan as well too, because I ended up trying out a little bit of it. I really fell in love with it, and I've played through this multiple times. And again, another game you have to play through multiple times to fully experience it. But even just the first time running through it, I loved it. It was great. And I'll probably be revisiting this as well too. Another visual novel, but real good stuff. Now this game completely surprised me here. I ended up picking up Gone Home, and I played through this, and what I would recommend to you all, I loved it personally, but I played it twice. I've played it once on the Switch and once on the Xbox One, and that first time is the most memorable one, because the second time you play through it, you're like, oh, I know what's going to happen, all that stuff. So it's probably not going to be a game you're going to play multiple times, but I will tell you all this, because I don't want to I don't want to spoil the experience for people. So I'm going to say the exact opposite. I'm actually going to say go in blind. All you need to know is this game is called Gone Home, and it exists. And that's it. Don't look up any reviews. Don't look up any playthroughs. Don't look up any... Just play it blind. And if you can, play it in one sitting. So be sure to empty your bladder beforehand. But this was a good game. Definitely an experience that I absolutely loved. So that was it for February. Now, in March, there was only 2 games that I finished there. But I ended up finishing Steins Gate Elite, another visual novel that I've been told, hey, you got to play this, you got to play this. I mean, if you're going to play visual novel, you got to play Steins Gate. Now, this is Elite, where, from what I understand, it got rid of the original art style of the Steins Gate visual novel, and it ended up taking the anime. So you're really just reading through an anime, so to speak, or kind of watching an anime with subtitles. Personally, I enjoyed that. I know a lot of people didn't, and I believe they ended up taking out some parts of the story on here. But either way, I really enjoyed this. I was actually a few hours into the Vita version, which was the original Steins Gate, like the original art style and stuff. Then I decided to pick up Steins Gate Elite, because just through some discounts and such, I got this for $5, and I prefer to play on the Switch, and I really enjoyed it. So I can recommend this. I really liked it. I'm waiting for Steins Gate Zero Elite to end up getting a physical copy, and then I'm going to pick that up as well, too. I need to pick up the Robotics Notes pack, but I'll pick that up when I'm ready to play it. So either way, really loved this. Loved my entire time with it. Now, we're getting off of the Switch here, because it's been, wow, that was 7 consistent Switch titles. That was 7 titles. So we're going to throw back a little bit here. This was when we were starting to get into lockdown, and I decided to go back and revisit and finish up Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories. This was the only Grand Theft Auto on PlayStation 2 that I never finished. And overall, it was okay. It was okay. Vice City was never really my favorite. And then Vice City Stories, like I saw what they were doing, I appreciated it, I thought it was cool, but it was kind of buggy and such. And I just remember I played through it, and I got about halfway through, and I just sat on it for a few years. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to go back and revisit it, and I can say that I finished it now, so that's cool. But overall, out of those like 3 Grand Theft Auto games, like 3 Vice City, San Andreas, Liberty City Stories, Vice City Stories, I wasn't too crazy about this one. That's just my opinion, though. Now, going back to Switch, this was in April. I ended up finishing Donut County. This was such a charming game. I absolutely loved it. And one cool thing you might notice, just look up, if you can't see it here, look up the cover art for the Switch version. That raccoon that is on the, I think that's a drone? Is that it? That is a raccoon drone attached to a raccoon that is controlling the drone with a Nintendo Switch. That is just super cute and absolutely fantastic, and I love this. Now, I ended up playing through this multiple times, actually, because it's an incredibly short game. You can finish this within 2 hours. And the funny thing is, I finished it on Switch first, but I actually also got it on PS4, and I decided to get the Platinum on there, which took just like a few hours to do. You can get in like 2 or 3 hours. But this is such a charming game. I absolutely love it, and it's just one of those games that you can sit down, go back to easily enough, and, you know, play through with no issue. It's really fun. I love the humor in it. I have nothing but positive things to say about it. Now, this was one I was really waiting for. And when it came out, you know, I'm just going to show you all. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Absolutely loved this game. And when it came out, I was super excited. Like, I was just waiting. I was anticipating. I was just itching for it because, of course, the same year I had just finished Final Fantasy VII, I was waiting for this here. And when it arrived, I remember I saw the delivery driver. I freaked out. I ran. I got it. I was so excited when I was unboxing this thing. I should have recorded it, but I didn't. I was just way too excited. I installed it, and it took me maybe a week and a half to finish. But I just remember that entire time, it was pretty much I'd wake up, I'd work. After work, I did some stuff that I needed to, and then I would just play Final Fantasy VII Remake until I went to bed. And I did that like every night until I finished it. Fantastic game. Absolutely loved this game right here. It totally lived up to the expectations for me. And that was it for April. So in May, I had kind of a varied, like a really interesting, like kind of varied month here. So we went back even further. And for the first time ever, I ended up finishing Fear Effect on the PlayStation 1. I'm not sure why I never finished it. I've had it for years. I loved it. But I ended up finishing this up. And it was actually all thanks to the PlayStation Classic that everyone seems to hate on. No, I'm not talking about the original PlayStation. I'm talking about the mini console, the PlayStation Classic. I got back into modding that. I wanted to mess around with it. I got into Project Eris. And I said, you know what? Let me actually try out something on there. So I used Fear Effect as my guinea pig. I needed to make sure the game worked well. I wanted to mess around with save states, mess around with scan lines, which, by the way, this game, it's really cool because the backgrounds, it's kind of like Resident Evil where, you know, you have the tank controls, but the backgrounds as opposed to images are like videos that play on loop. So because of that, the game is whopping, like, it's a huge 4 discs, right? It's a huge game. But because of that, the videos are also really pixelated. So when you're like blowing it up on a nice TV, this is actually the one game I have found that I really want to enable scan lines on, and I did. Typically, I like to clean up my games on a modern display, but the video backgrounds just look so pixelated that I needed a way for them to just not bug me as much. And scanlines through RetroArch worked pretty well. But either way, this was a fantastic way to really put Project Eris through its paces and try out a few things, and I loved playing through this game. I have to play through Fear Effect 2 now. I've still never finished that. But either way, really happy I was able to knock this game out. So the next game I finished, I don't have a physical copy of, unfortunately. Well, at least not yet. I'm getting it on Switch. But Streets of Rage 4. A friend of mine and I ended up co-oping this game, and we absolutely loved it. It's a short game. You can play through it within a few hours. The soundtrack is awesome. The game is super fun. I know when it was officially announced the first time, it got a lot of flack for looking like kind of just a generic side-scroller beat-em-up on a mobile phone, but it's a lot more than that. I played it through Game Pass, so you can still probably pick it up through there, but it was a really fun game to play through for a night. Now, I guess we were kind of just in a beat-em-up mood or something, because with another friend, I ended up playing River City Girls. Now, we weren't really expecting all that much from this. We just kind of decided, like, hey, this looks fun. All right, sure, let's try it out. The soundtrack in this game is awesome. The game is actually challenging as well, too. You have to kind of keep track of your power-ups and see what you're going to do and what you need and all that fun stuff. But my goodness, this game, do not sleep on it. That's what I'm going to tell you all. Do not sleep on it. It is a fantastic game. If you're looking for a good side-scroller beat-em-up on the Switch, or I think it's on PS4 and probably Xbox One as well, but if you're looking for a modern beat-em-up, River City Girls is awesome. And it's really funny as well, too. So that was it for May for me. Now in June, I only end up finishing one game, but it's actually one of my, again, it's crept up to be one of my favorite games. I am going to say something that's going to be a little bit controversial to someone who might be watching, but either way, Valhalla. I've been waiting for this game for a while. I end up picking this up and 2048, both which take place in the same universe technically, but I got them both from Limited Run Games. I decided to pick this up. Unfortunately, I actually would have loved this on the Vita, although I have it on Switch now, which is great. I would have loved this on the Vita, but unfortunately, the Japanese version on the Vita, like the physical copy, because I still collect games and such, but the physical copy is Japanese only, which I don't know Japanese. And the English copy was through Limited Run Games, and it came out at around the time I wasn't paying attention to Vita games that were from Limited Run, so unfortunately I missed out on it. But either way, I got it on Switch. I waited a long time for this. They really delayed, because this was in the midst of, you know, at the beginning of coronavirus, COVID-19, all that stuff. So I had to wait longer, unfortunately, but either way, I did get it here. I've now played through this game several times. I'm actually going to play through it again here shortly, just to kind of, I'm doing this thing where Actually, probably by the time you're watching this, I'll be near the end of it. But essentially, this game takes place near the end of December, and every single day there is something going on. So you play like December 9th, December 10th, December 11th. So I'm actually going to be playing this game day by day on those days. So on December 9th, I'm going to play December 9th. On December 10th, I'm going to play December 10th. And that's how I'm going to be replaying this game at the end of this year, and actually maybe into next year, because I don't remember if you finish the game in the next year or not. But we'll see. Pretty much if you see from my list in January, you'll know it's that. But I loved this. I will say, though, there was... and your name is escaping me, I apologize. There's one person on Twitter who follows me. We've talked about this game. They absolutely love this game. And I talked with them, I remember, months ago about Coffee Talk right here. And they said, oh, this is cool. All right. But, man, you're going to like Valhalla. Valhalla is better. I'm sorry. I mean, like, I respect Valhalla. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's a great game. But I like Coffee Talk more. I think it's just more cozy to me. And the humor and the delivery and just the aesthetic and everything, it's more up my alley for whatever reason. But Valhalla is still great. Don't sleep on this game either. If you're looking for a cool visual novel with, you know, some interesting stuff. I don't know. Definitely pick that up. So that's all I finished in June. And in July, this is a digital only game. And this is something that just like completely shocked a friend and I when we had tried it out. But it was a summer with the Shiba Inu. So this game ended up coming out, and it was like on sale for $8 just because it just released. And I was looking at it, and I was like, oh, it's probably like, you know, just a weird, funny Doge meme dating simulator. All right, cool. So I picked up a eShop gift card. I redeemed it. I bought the game, and I started playing through it. And it's a visual novel, but I don't want to spoil it because it just came out this year, but I'll just say, like, it's not like the best thing out there, mind you. It is intentionally kind of like a cheap, kind of a not really the most polished game. But my goodness, what I was expecting there was completely different. I was expecting like just like there's one game, I think it's like Hatoful Boyfriend or something like that, where it's a bird dating simulator. I was expecting something like that. I was going to be like, oh, I can laugh at this for a few hours. And then I played, I'm like, what the fuck did I just play? My God. Like, okay. It's not disturbing, mind you, by any means. Like, some people might be thinking that. It's just, it's a lot deeper than what I expected. And that's what I'm going to say there. So that was all that I played in July. That was one of those light months where all I did was I just finished a short game. Now, in August, I ended up playing Loco Roco for the PS4. I'm not really sure why I felt like playing Loco Roco, but I decided I got this a while ago for PS4, and I will say this, for anybody who's thinking of getting this for PS4, the PSP version's better. This game is just perfect on a handheld, but when you're playing it on a big TV, like with an actual controller, it just loses something, you know? It just loses something. It's the purest form of Loco Roco is on the PSP, or maybe the PS Vita. But either way, this is one of my favorite PSP games. I played it. I loved it. My only regret, I would say, play it on PSP, but I'm happy I tried it on PS4, and, you know, I got some trophies and stuff from there. Now, this is I think this is the last physical Switch game on here. Animal Crossing New Horizons. Now, I'm laughing a bit because I didn't even know you could finish this game, all right? I didn't even know, and I'm going to tell you, for anybody who's playing this and doesn't know, I'm going to tell you how you finish this game. You need to get, I believe, at least 7 villagers. You need to get your island to a 3-star rating, and then you need to get KK Slider to perform on your island, and you need to attend his concert. And when you attend his concert, you have technically beaten Animal Crossing. Now, I'm one of those people. I am not good with games like this. I tried the original Animal Crossing several times when I was a kid. It just had no like objective to me, so I didn't like it. I don't like games where there's not like a clear-cut objective. Like I'm not wired that way when it comes to games. So I took Animal Crossing differently. I did pick it up on launch, and I was like, this is different. This is going to be something I need to know. I need to play this game to enjoy it and just to be a time sink. I'm not going to play it with any goal in mind. So I did that, and I actually really enjoyed it. And it was fun, you know, playing it almost every day. Then imagine my surprise when I got about 65, 70 hours in, and I discovered there was a way to finish the game. And I'm just like, wait, what? Are you kidding me? Wait, this game has an ending? Like, it has credits rolling and everything. So then I had to spend another, like, because I wasn't going after all that, I had to spend another, like, 5 or 10 hours doing that. But then I end up finishing the game, and I'm still playing it to this day because I'm doing stock market, I'm doing a bunch of other stuff on there. But Animal Crossing New Horizons, in short, I can just say 2020 was the best year for this game to come out. It really was. So next up here, I end up playing this. I picked this up a while ago. Actually, this was last year I talked about this. I played Modern Warfare 2019. I bought it. I played through the campaign. I tried the multiplayer, and I said, you know what? This is not for me. So I sold it, and I used the money from there to pick up Modern Warfare Remastered, to get a physical copy of it. My all-time favorite multiplayer game, at least the original. The original Call of Duty 4 is my all-time favorite multiplayer game. I decided to pick up Remastered on PS4 because one of my friends has it on there, and I already had it on Xbox One, and I wasn't really playing it that much. So for whatever reason, and I kind of equate this to fast food. Fast food's not really good for you, and you might not even eat it that often. But, like, sometimes, maybe, like, once a year, you're kind of just sitting there, like, I don't know why, but I just kind of want, like, a Big Mac, or I want, like, 10-piece chicken nuggets, or I want to go and get, like, some spicy nuggets somewhere. Call of Duty is like fast food to me. I'm not really sure why. I'm typically disappointed most of the time when I play Call of Duty. But maybe, like, once a year, I have the craving to play a Call of Duty game. And I'd say most of the time it's disappointing, but sometimes if I pick a good one, like, I really liked the campaign on Call of Duty 4, so I played through the campaign on here. But I played through it. I've played through it before many times. I loved it. I thought it was great. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to go and play Modern Warfare 2 Remastered. So I fired that up, and within 2 minutes, I was like, it's not that this game is bad, but I think I got the Call of Duty out of my system. So maybe next year I'll finish up Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, but Call of Duty is like my fast food of gaming. I guess I can say that. The campaign's still good, though. I didn't play the multiplayer on that. I've tried it on Xbox One. I enjoyed it for what it was, but I haven't played on the PS4. So next up here, I ended up playing this short little game that I have never finished until this year, but Smashing Drive on the original Xbox. I will say this is, I remember this in arcades, and it felt much faster and much cooler in arcades, and it was just way over the top. The console version is slow, but you can finish it pretty easily, and it's a short game. I don't know, I've never finished this game. I'm happy I finished it now, but it just made me realize, man, the arcade version was something special. Another game here that I end up getting on Switch, it's digital only, but I end up picking up Kododama and the 7 Mysteries of Fujisawa. This was a game that I've kind of debated getting. It was another visual novel and kind of puzzle game. And I debated getting this for a while because it kept dropping and dropping in price. And then at one point it went on sale for like less than $1 on the eShop. And I was like, okay, even though I want a physical copy of it for less than $1 digitally, I really can't say no to this. So I actually started playing this, and I had played, in short, I was playing this game. It's like a Connect 3, but striptease type game when it comes to gameplay. But there's the mystery thing going on there, which the mystery is interesting enough. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, for $1, like, you can't really go wrong with many games. I enjoyed it for what it was. You do have to play through this multiple times, though, to get the true ending, and I didn't feel like the true ending was worth it. I got kind of annoyed with that. But either way, I picked it up, I finished it, I enjoyed it for what it was. Now, I end up playing and finishing a light gun game. I end up picking up, well, I've had this for a few years, but I have the Time Crisis Raising Storm collection here, which this is awesome. Now, there's only 3 games for the PlayStation 3 that use the light gun, unfortunately, and this disc here has all of them. It has Time Crisis 4, it has Dreadstorm Pirates, and it has Time Crisis Raising Storm. So I'd actually played this with a neighbor of mine. I set up my PS3, I set up the gun cons, and we played this, and we actually played through Raising Storm. Unfortunately, it is a lot shorter than you would expect, but it was absolutely a fun time. Still a fun game nonetheless, but we need to actually finish up Time Crisis 4 and Deadstorm Pirates Pirates is super fun. It is an awesome light gun game that I recommend playing. And the last game for September I ended up finishing up was Dead or Alive 3 on the original Xbox. Now, I have beat this game before, like when I was younger and such, but this was for the, what was it? The Xbox HDMI. That's actually running in the background right there. This is for the Xbox HDMI, and I just kind of used the excuse to go back and revisit a bunch of games, but I decided to play through this game with all the characters, and man, this game still holds up. This is probably my favorite Dead or Alive. Yeah, I'm sure there's better ones out there, but this is my favorite Dead or Alive, probably because it's my first one that I started with, but it just holds up incredibly well, especially when you realize this was a launch title for the original Xbox. My goodness. So, all the next games here I'm going to be going over are all digital titles. I'm actually done with the physical collection. Like, this is the complete stack of physical games that I finished for the for this year, for 2020. So there's still a few more that we have to go through. First of it, which being in October, I end up finishing Grand Theft Auto 3 on the Switch. Now, I did an episode of Homebrew Review covering this, and I talked about it there. And you know what the funny thing is with this? Grand Theft Auto 3 is my all-time favorite game, but this is the first time I ever finished the game from start to finish without cheats. I'm kind of proud of myself and kind of disappointed at the same time, because I mean, it should have taken this damn long, but you know what? I was able to play Grand Theft Auto 3 unofficially on a modified Switch. I was very happy with it. It's an awesome port, and when you put Grand Theft Auto 3 in front of me, it's my all-time favorite game. It's hard to get it away from me. So I was very happy that I was able to finally finish that up properly. The next game I ended up finishing was Carrion. This is on Switch. It's also on Xbox One. That's actually how I played it originally to decide if I wanted to buy it or not. But this game is awesome. Now, I'm going to tell you all, I do not like Metroidvania style games. I also don't like, how can I describe it? I guess in general, yeah, it's a Metroidvania game, but I also don't really like playing as evil or bad characters. If I have an option, I typically play as a good character, and I lean towards that way. So when I tell you that you are playing as a giant, disgusting, human creature eating biomass that is super evil, that is tearing up everything in a Metroidvania style side-scrolling game, and I tell you that it is awesome, like, goddamn, this is a great game right here. In fact, I have to say, this is probably my favorite Metroidvania game out there. This game, it handles incredibly smooth. It doesn't rely on super precise timings because you're just a giant, disgusting, freakish biomass. It's never felt so good to be so evil in a game like this. It's just, man, it is so fun. I can't recommend this game enough. Carrion on Switch, on Xbox One, however you're going to play it. It's awesome. Play it. Definitely play it. Now, another homebrew port I ended up playing, which I believe at this point my other episode of Homebrew Review ended up going out for it, is Doki Doki Literature Club. Now, this is the last visual novel I ended up playing this year, and I don't want to give any spoilers about it because it's very much a thing where the people who tell you to play it, including me, are not going to spoil it for you. But I will say that I finally played it because it was in front of me on Switch. I tried it out there. It's Doki Doki Literature Club. Try it out. It's free on everything, actually, on PC and then the unofficial ports as well. It's free. Check it out. Now, in November, I end up finishing South Park: The Stick of Truth. I was prompted to do this because I actually went back and revisited South Park: The Fractured But Whole. I have to be very careful with that, how I say it. I end up going back and revisiting that on Switch because the DLC for it, I finished it on Switch originally, but the DLC for it came out, well, it's been out for a while, but mind you, the DLC was like, it went on sale for like $9 or $10. And I was like, you know what? I finished it on Switch. I have my character on there. That's where I want to play it. Let me pick up the DLC. And there's like 3 pieces of DLC. One of them is just like a challenge boss rush mode, which does not interest me at all. But the other 2 I played through. One of them was pretty forgettable. I can't even remember what it was. The other one, you are at a campsite, like you're at a lake. And that was super fun to play through. I was just dying laughing. I was in pain playing that. And I loved it. I just loved playing through those DLCs. And I truly felt like they were worth the money. So when I finished that, I said, you know what? I want to go back and revisit the Stick of Truth. Because from what I remember, in my opinion, the Stick of Truth has much better, it has a much better story and jokes and humor and writing, but the gameplay isn't as good. The gameplay in The Fractured But Whole is better, but the story and missions and all that aren't as good, at least in my opinion. I will say though, my opinion did change on The Stick of Truth. The combat is frustrating. It's very frustrating. The first hour you get into it because it's much slower, it's timing based, it can just get annoying. But after an hour of it, you get used to it, you get into it, and it is super fun. And that's what I remember it being back then, but I thought it would be kind of worse of a transition now. But no, I just had to give myself an hour and I was able to get right back into it. And it was great at that point. So the game is still just as funny as I remember. I still enjoyed it. There were some parts I didn't laugh as much, other parts I laughed even harder. I did not cry this time. And for anybody who might be wondering, when this game came out, I think in 2013, it was my game of the year, and I said that game made me cry because I was laughing so hard playing it that I was in pain, and I was in so much pain I started crying. Like, that is the type of game it was for me, so still absolutely enjoyable nonetheless. The next game I played, the last one I played for November, ended up being Paratopic. Now, this is I love these type of games, these like dirty, nasty PlayStation 1 looking games. I love that gritty look. And Paratopic is like that. And I can say it was easily the most unsettling game I have played this year. Yes, that is on top of other games that I've previously mentioned, and I'm not going to mention which names they are. I'm sure some people might be surprised with me saying that, but Paratopic, this is again another one of those games you have to kind of play through it multiple times, do multiple things to get everything on there. It's very mysterious, very strange, very odd, but easily the most unnerving game I had played this year. It was awesome. And a very short game as well, too, so maybe pick it up. Thanks, Windows, for making noises. But just in time for the very last game that I ended up finishing, at least at this point here, but I'm kind of capping it off because, you know, it's December at this point. The last game I ended up finishing in December, and really the only game so far, has been A Short Hike. And this was another game on Switch, but it went on sale for like $6 or $7 on the eShop. And so many people were saying, oh, this is a perfect game, this is a perfect game, this is a perfect game. And I wouldn't say it's a perfect game, but it's very charming. It's fun. It's a really nice game that you can just hop into for a few hours, enjoy your stay, and then check out and leave. So I would recommend it. If you can find it for cheap, I definitely recommend it. One thing, though, is the game is supposed to be pixelated. And when you go in, it gives you like the most pixelated option. And it's funny because, see, like this year, I actually ended up, I'm wearing them right now, but I had to get like new glasses, and now I'm actually using contacts pretty much full time. And there's kind of been this like, this odd juxtaposition and like just this weird irony where I'm like, even though I have contacts and I can see things clearly now for the first time in a while, I'm playing like some of the worst looking games. But I fired up A Short Hike and I was like, this is super pixelated, like super pixelated. So you can actually adjust it to make it less pixelated, and it still has that like old school kind of pixelated look, which I get that's what they're doing. But I can appreciate that they do that graphical setting on there. The most pixelated setting, the one that's set there by default, I don't know why that's a thing. I don't know what that they were doing on that. Maybe in like a small Switch screen it's fine, but then again, I was playing on like my TV and it just didn't look the best there. That's maybe my only gripe about it, but that is about it for this video, you all. So there we go. That was every game that I ended up finishing in 2020. And maybe I should include this at the end here because I'm probably going to, finish Valhalla again. And I've said there's been several games I finished multiple times. The way I do this, I play a game, and I actually asked a while ago, I asked in a poll here, that was it, in a poll question on the channel, just, hey, if I finish a game, should I count it only once, or could I count it for multiple months? Like, let's say if I finish Grand Theft Auto 3 in May, and then I finish in August, can I count it for both? And most people said no. You don't. And I'm like, okay, that's fair. I haven't been doing that, but I'm not going to change it. So there's games that even though I might replay them throughout the year or play them multiple times, the first time I play it, so if I beat a game the first time in January, I don't count it again. I just don't. Wow, actually, you know what? I just realized. I just realized here there was one game that I was missing. I'm going to have to add it here to 29, but I can't believe I missed this. Seriously? This had to be in November. All right. Retroactively adding this real quick. Untitled Goose Game. I got that on PS4. I decided to finish it back in November. I played through it on PS4. Absolutely loved it again. It's one of my favorite games. But yeah, I cannot believe that I forgot that there. So there we go. 29 games. 29. I think we're all good. That's, again, another one of those games. I played through it so many times, I don't even think I really counted on here. I might have even played it earlier this year, because it's one of those games you put it in front of me, and I just accidentally end up finishing it. But there we go. We're going to put it in November. That's when I finish it. So 29 games in total. I'm pretty happy with that number right there. So now I'm going to kind of ask you all, what games did you end up finishing this year? If you have a list of games, if you have how many you finished, or what you might think of doing something like this. I know some people actually had the beat a game a week challenge, which that's a little bit too much for me. Because there's sometimes I'm just able to play a ton, and other times I'm barely playing. I might not be interested. I might not have the time. Or even I'm just playing like really, really long games. So that seemed like a little bit too much effort for me, but I'm still doing the monthly thing, and we're able to do that. I am also going to do a game of the year for the very last video. So the last video of this here, which will be the video after this one, out of all the games I presented to you all, I am going to be talking about my choice for game of the year 2020. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off. Thank you all for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, a like would absolutely be appreciated. And if you didn't like it, a dislike is fine as well, too.